Hey Geeks and Gamers, today I'm here to review Bionic Commando Rearmed. Bionic Commando Rearmed comes from an interesting time in Capcom's history. This game was released in 2008. Now, those of you who don't know a lot about Capcom may not have remembered the fact that around this time period, the time period of the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, Capcom was having a bit of a identity crisis, you could say. They were really shifting focus to focusing on a lot of Western-developed games. Thanks, Keiji Inafune, you asshole. This happened to manifest itself in a lot of lackluster products from around that time. I think of the Dark Void game that they came out with around that time. Spyborgs for the Wii was a bad game. There was just a lot of stuff going on at Capcom that didn't make any sense. You know, they were canceling Mega Man games. They were shitting on Resident Evil, really making it more of a shooter. Devil May Cry was getting the boot, you know, a few years later for that like edgy remake that was also Western themed. There's a lot of weird stuff happening, and part of that atmosphere that was, or like system that was happening at the time, this like rearrangement of Capcom, was giving these older IPs to outside studios, and a little studio called Grin got Bionic Commando, and Grin worked on a lot of different games at the time. They mainly worked on like some Ghost Recon games and some other PC games and stuff. But Grin found itself with the Bionic Commando IP, and this was their first attempt at really bringing the IP back. And it's a damn good one because Bionic Commando Rearmed is a faithful adaptation of the NES classic. Now, whenever you're talking about Bionic Commando, most people are usually talking about that classic NES game, which is honestly one of my favorite NES games of all time. And what makes Bionic Commando so special is that it's a 2D run-and-gun platformer where you can't jump. There's no jump button in this game. What makes it special is the fact that you have a bionic arm that can attach itself to things and let you swing. So you really have to learn the character's momentum and how to get around to really get up, you know, vertical stages and stuff. It's very unique, very cool. Something that I love on the NES because no other game on NES really plays like that. It takes some time to really learn the game, but it was a classic, fantastic game. And this game, Rearmed, aims to take that NES original and bring it into, at the time, the modern era. And I think it does it so successfully. The story of Bionic Commando sees a war between the Federation and the Empire. You are on the Federation side. The Federation has sent one of their heroes, Super Joe, in to infiltrate the Empire, and he has been captured. So they're sending in Rad Spencer, thanks Spencer, to take down the Empire and save Super Joe. That's the story. The game plays out as a 2D run-and-gun platformer, in quotations, where you have to swing around the level, take out enemies, find computer rooms to hack computers and call HQ, find new upgrades and equipment, and take down bosses. What's very unique about this game is the fact that while it is a run and gun shooter, it isn't straightforward. I think that's something that people could get hung up on with the original game. You have a map between stages with different numbers, and usually the higher numbers are usually your Federation bases, and then the lower numbers are usually the Empire stages. And what you want to do is you want to traverse the map, and if you get to a stage, like an Empire stage, that you can't really make progress in, it's probably because you don't have the right upgrade or piece of equipment yet. So you're going to want to go back and explore the other stages, and then come back to that stage when you have more weapons or upgrades or whatever it is that you may need for that stage. Very unique setup for a run-and-gun platformer. Again, something that I could see people having an issue with on the NES. But they stayed faithful here in Rearmed. This is basically a remake of that version of the game, just with more bells, whistles, and boss fights, honestly. This game was phenomenal. So the fact that this game is sort of forgotten now from this era in Capcom's history really is sad. And the biggest part of that reason was because a year later in 2009, Grin, the same developers of this game, would also release Bionic Commando, which was a 3D version of Bionic Commando. And I'll be completely honest, I don't hate that game. Maybe I'll talk about it at some point. Maybe I'll do a video on it. I've always kind of wanted to cover the Bionic Commando series anyway. But that game had some issues, some major issues. Transferring this gameplay into 3D was not great. They totally ripped apart the story. The story in that game's awful. And it wasn't the right move for the series. And I think a lot of people looking back at this time period remember that 3D Bionic Commando game that came out a year later. And they don't really remember this one. And after that 3D Bionic Commando, Grin was relinquished of the series. I don't remember if the Grin went bankrupt. Let me look here. Yes, Grin went defunct in 2009. They had a few other games come out. I think they made that Wanted game based on that Wanted movie and Terminator Salvation. And then they had some canceled games. But yeah, that was really their last big project, which is sad because they were also working on a Strider reboot and a Streets of Rage remake, which, you know, could have been cool, kind of iffy, but judging by Rearmed, I think they could do that classic style well. It's just maybe they took the wrong step and it cost them. But Rearmed is still an amazing game, and Capcom I think Capcom knows this because in 2011, Capcom would also release Bionic Commando Rearmed 2, but it was developed by Fat Shark, which is a great name, by the way. And as of right now, that game is the only one you could find on like Xbox and stuff. I'm playing Rearmed here on Steam. It is still available on Steam. But yeah, Rearmed 2 came out, and to be honest, Rearmed 2, while it's not a bad game, it isn't as good as this one. It didn't have the same feel as the first Rearmed. So Grin was really on to something with this game, and it's sad to see them kind of fuck up their studio's career with that 3D game, because they had a lot of potential, and this game shows it. This game is very hard, though. Bionic Commando has always been very hard, whether it's been the arcade game, the NES game, the Game Boy sequel, This game, it's just the series overall has been very difficult, and this game is no different. Some of the boss fights, some of the areas will take you a long time. Just learning the controls and how to maneuver Rad Spencer around the stages with his bionic arm can take you a long time. I would recommend in each of the Federation bases, there are computer terminals with, they're like simulation trials where you get to do like an obstacle course and learn how to control your bionic arm. They're very hard, but I would recommend doing those if you're having some issues with the controls, because they can really teach you how to use the momentum of your character, how to really swing, how to really control yourself in the air, to great effect. So I would recommend doing those if you're having some issues with the main stages and really getting around. Game is still available on Steam, so if you're interested, pick it up. Again, I don't know if this game will ever get re-released outside of the PC version. It's not on, you can't buy it on PlayStation or Xbox anymore. I would love to see them re-release this in some fashion, maybe on like the Switch. This would be perfect for like a console like the Switch or something. It even kind of sucks because they haven't updated this version in a long time, so even though I have it on Steam, I can't even play it on the Steam Deck. It seems like Capcom just kind of they kind of want to bury everything from this part of their history, which is fair because again they fucked up with their with the Capcom games around that time period. A lot of them were bad, but this one isn't, and I would love to see them maybe revisit this or give it like some sort of HD remaster or some sort of, maybe like bundle it with the second one and sell it as a package. That'd be really nice. But I would highly recommend Bionic Commando Rearmed, especially if you are a fan of that classic NES game. This game is brilliant.
Hey!